Good afternoon. I hope you had a great weekend as we celebrated Resurrection Sunday. We just celebrated that yesterday, the day we remember and celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. Sometimes we get lost in the worldly hype of the day: new clothes, decorated baskets, hunting eggs, gathering with family, and so forth. I'm not saying we shouldn't do those things, but we need to remember and celebrate the real reason for that day. Jesus rose from the dead to secure everything he did on the cross. Now, what do I mean by that? If you make a purchase on the internet or in a store or through an app, you provide a form of payment for that purchase. Especially if the purchase requires the company to ship it to you, they will not prepare your order for shipment until they have been ensured your form of payment is valid and the funds have been secured to cover the purchase. Jesus paid the ultimate price for our total redemption and freedom. However, if he had not rose from the dead, it would have been just another sacrifice, just another death, and everything would have ended there. But 1 Corinthians states in chapter 15, verses 13 and 14, "For if there is no resurrection of the dead, then Jesus has not been raised either. And if Jesus has not been raised, then all our preaching is useless, and your faith is useless." 1 Corinthians 15 and 6 states Jesus did rise and was seen by over 500 of his followers after his resurrection. Jesus made the payment, and his resurrection secured the payment for eternity. But what did his payment cover? It covered everything in your life, everything. Here is a list of just a few of the things it covered. Luke 22 and 44 tells us while Jesus was praying in the garden before his arrest that he was in such agony his sweat became drops of blood. And Matthew 26 verses 66 through 68 and Luke 22, 63 through 65 tells us his beard was pulled from his face and he was beaten when he was on trial by the Sanhedrin. He shed his blood in the garden and in the Sanhedrin to cover the payment for your freedom from things you allow into your life and things that were done to you. Such things as negative words, negative actions towards you, teaching and beliefs that are contrary to God's word, anything that affects you emotionally and may result in you putting up barriers to prevent others from coming into your heart and life, and that blocks the truth of God's word. Things that affected you emotionally that could cause destructive behavior, guilt, shame, loss of self-worth, anger, hurt. He took all that away by his sacrifice for you and securing that payment when he rose from the dead. Matthew 27 and 26 tells us Jesus' back was beaten with a whip. This whip contained pieces of metal and bone, which was designed to inflict tremendous damage and pain. It would tear the back into shreds, and most prisoners would not even survive this beating. The Bible tells us Jesus took the stripes on his back for our healing, but not only for our healing of diseases and sicknesses. I believe he also took the stripes on his back for the burdens you carry. When a person has a great deal of responsibility in their life, they are trying to juggle, we say, these things, that they are under a tremendous load or they have a load on their shoulders. Jesus took those stripes on his back and carried the cross to Calvary to free you from the burdens and cares you have. He said in Matthew 11 and 28, "For everyone to come to him who is weary and carrying heavy burdens, and he will give you rest." Sometimes those burdens are things in our past, things that have weighed heavy on us for years. Jesus paid the price and secured it for you to have those burdens lifted, to free you from the heavy load you bear, whether past loads or what you are currently carrying. Matthew 27 and 29 tells us that the Roman soldiers made a crown of thorns, placed it on Jesus' head, and pushed it onto his head until the thorns tore into his skin and blood ran down. He shed the blood on his head and paid and secured the price to free you from those voices and thoughts that plague your mind. Those thoughts you can't get away from, and voices, maybe even voices of the past, that keep replaying in your mind over and over again. He took the pain and the agony of those thorns that caused untold pain on his head so you could be free, and he secured that payment with his resurrection. Then in Matthew 27 verses 32 through 50, Jesus was crucified by spikes being driven into his hands and feet. He took the spikes in his hands to free you from the things you have done, any wrong thing you've ever done in your life. He took the spikes in his feet to free you from the places you have been and the wrong paths you have taken in your life. Those things you have done and those places and paths you've taken that you wish you could take back, or if you had the opportunity, you would do differently. He paid the price to free you from all of it and secured the payment by his resurrection. Finally, in John 19 and 34, he took the spear in his side to free you from people and things that you've joined yourself with or aligned yourself with. These things could be people, behaviors, beliefs, practices, whatever it may be that you have joined to you. These are things that you have made a part of your life that you know are not good for your life, and you want to be free from them. But it seems no matter how hard you try, you cannot break free from their hold and influence over your life. Jesus took the spear in his side to free you from those things, and he secured the payment when he rose from the dead. As you can see, there is no area of your life, past or present, that Jesus did not pay the price to free and redeem you from. There is nothing seen or unseen that Jesus did not cover with his payment, and that payment was secured because he rose from the dead. Your freedom has been paid for, but it's up to you to accept it. You may have already given your life to Jesus, but you are still struggling with some things. Jesus paid the price to free you. Just call out to him. You may not have given your life to Jesus. Well, now is the time. He will forgive you and make you a new creation. Then as you walk with him and learn of him, these things will begin to fall away as you release them to him. Jesus paid the price and secured the payment with his resurrection. You are free if you allow and accept his payment to cover you. All you have to do is ask him. Be blessed today.